California rental laws outline the rules in the state regarding lease agreements and eviction. We'll overview the laws for standard lease agreements, month-to-month lease agreements, and evictions. In this video, we'll cover the types of lease agreements, required disclosures, security deposit laws, eviction laws, and more. We're eForms, your go-to source for lease agreements and eviction notices. To access official lease agreement and eviction templates, click the link in the description below. Let's start by going over the different types of lease agreements. Standard lease agreement. A standard lease outlines the terms between a landlord and tenant for the renting of property. A standard lease is commonly a one-year fixed period and is the most widely used rental contract. A month-to-month lease. A month-to-month lease is an agreement between a landlord and tenant that renews automatically every month. The agreement terminates upon notice by either the landlord or tenant. The notice must be provided by the landlord or the tenant a minimum of 30 days prior to termination as required by law. If the tenant has lived in the property for more than 1 year, the minimum notice is 60 days. Let's cover required disclosures. In California, the landlord is required to provide the following disclosures as part of the lease agreement. Bed bugs. The landlord must acknowledge any prior existence of bed bugs before tenancy. Additionally, the tenant must confirm that their furniture does not contain bed bugs. Demolition. If a landlord has any permit to demolish the residential unit, it must be disclosed before entering into a rental agreement or accepting payment. Flooding. The landlord's required to inform the tenant if the residence is located in a special flood hazard area. Megan's Law. All residential contracts in California are required to contain specific notice about Megan's Law. Mold. The landlord must attach a mold disclosure form on the lease, which provides the tenant with information about potential health risks. Ordinance locations. The landlord of a residential dwelling unit who has actual knowledge of any formal federal or state ordinance locations in the neighborhood shall give written notice to a prospective tenant of that knowledge prior to the execution of a rental agreement. Pest control. If any corrective action has been taken to eliminate pests, an inspection report from the pest control company must be provided to the tenant. Shared utilities. If the residence has a shared meter, the agreement must outline how utilities will be split between the parties. Smoking policy. If smoking is allowed on the residence, the landlord must define where it is permitted, including common areas. For a complete list of required disclosures, including the new just cause and rent limit addendum, see the description below. Landlord access. In California, the landlord is required to provide at least 24 hours notice before entering the property for repairs or any non-emergency reason. 48 hours is required if the access is for move-out inspection. Let's cover security deposit laws. According to California law, landlords may charge an amount equal to 1 month's rent. However, if a landlord owns no more than 2 rental properties with a total of up to 4 units, they can ask for 2 months' rent. This exception applies if the landlord is an individual or an LLC made up of individuals. Eviction laws. There are 3 legally accepted causes for eviction in California. Non-payment of rent. If the tenant is late on rent, the landlord can issue a 3-day notice to pay or quit. This gives the tenant 3 days to pay the rent in full along with any penalties or vacate the property. If they do neither, the landlord may be forced to seek an eviction from the court. Curable non-compliance. If the tenant breaks any portion of the lease other than late rent, the landlord may give the tenant 3 days to either comply with the lease or vacate the property. Incurable non-compliance. An incurable non-compliance can be issued when the tenant commits an offense they cannot remedy, such as engaging in illegal acts on the property. In this case, the landlord may provide the tenant with a 3-day notice to vacate. Now, where can you find legal documents online? If you're in need of a lease agreement, a disclosure, an eviction notice, or any other form, click the link below where we have thousands of state-specific, ready-to-go templates available for you to download. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.